Hey everybody, it's a marvelous Monday. We're coming at you, Miss Johnson and Miss Hopson, and we wanted to make sure that you understood. We're going to review the earth layers, and then we're going to move into plate tectonics. Now, some of you have already done a lot about plate tectonics if you were working online before spring break, but we want to go ahead and review with you and make sure that you understand what happens when the major plate tectonics move. So here we have our earth layers, right? The inner core.
Remember, the inner core is the most dense, which means it's the heaviest layer. It's made of solid
metal, nickel and iron,
and it is surrounded by the outer core, which is
liquid, also made out of metal, but in a liquid form. Now, this is where all the action is going to start taking place. It's what causes everything above it to work, right? This is the mantle. And inside the mantle, you have something called convection currents that kind of spin like this. And we talked about convection and thermal energy way back before Christmas. Now, if you remember, convection was when the cool air rises and the hot air sinks. The same thing happens in the mantle.
It's just like the rock cycle. Do you remember how the deeper the rock goes, it melts, and then it comes back up and it solidifies? That's the same thing that's going on here. The new earth, the old crust is diving down, melting, coming back up and making new land.
Absolutely. Then we have something called the lithosphere and the asthenosphere. The lithosphere is the land.
It's this dark brown, if you can see it, right here.
And it sinks down in the asthenosphere, okay? So it rides on top of that asthenosphere. The prefix A means without, and stheno means strength. So asthenosphere means without strength. So when that lithosphere rubs on top of that weak part of the asthenosphere, and it can go dive down into that semi-solid material that we talked about when we made our oobleck, and it causes it to go down, melt, and then come back up through the volcano.
Now, today, let me show you something while we're on this. We're going to use Oreo cookies. I'm not going to do anything to the Oreos yet. I just want to show you the different parts she just explained. So, using an Oreo cookie. Uh-oh.
Well, that one's
already ready for us. Okay.
Do we want to just do this one?
Sure.
Maybe?
So we have 3 layers represented on the Oreo cookie. So you're going to kind of have to use your imagination. The top layer, of course, is going to be the lithosphere. Okay?
It's a little bit rough.
And then this is going to be our ooey gooey
asthenosphere.
Okay?
Right.
This is what our lithosphere is going to ride on top of. So that's what you need to know for the layers of the earth.
Okay, so we're going to scroll down to our plate so that you can see. Now, we said that this is the asthenosphere and this is the lithosphere, right? Now, we have 3 types of plate tectonics. We have convergent. Hold on just a second. Let's scoot this back up and let them see our words.
Oh, yes.
We have convergent, okay? That means they come together. We have divergent, which means they divide. Right?
So convergent, come together, divergent, divide.
And then we have transform boundaries. And that's where they're always touching and they're rubbing back and forth.
What do you think happens when you rub an Oreo back and forth like this, Ms. Hopson?
I see some weathering and erosion going on for sure.
I do too.
And it's making a pile of sediment.
So, and watch, can you see how it gets stuck, Ms. Hopson? Watch what happens.
Slip boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't talked about those.
We're going to go there.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see, Miss Johnson's going to show you. I'm going to move my plate out of the way so she can show you. When she puts those plates on, back on, okay, so we're going to pretend that this is the Pacific plate, the Ring of Fire, and the South American plate, okay? Now, if we pull them apart, we can see there's a ridge there. Can you see the ridge?
Here, I'm going to hold it up so they can see the ridge.
Okay.
Can you see the ridge? I can see it.
I can see it. All right, this is where we get ridge and rifts and seafloor spreading. It makes valleys and volcanoes. Now, when you have a convergent boundary and they push together, Oh, now we have mountain building. So the asthenosphere pushes up and it becomes solid and it makes a mountain. Now we know from studying in social studies that in South America, that long skinny country called Chile has the Andes Mountains, right? So you can look up here in the drawing that Miss Johnson made, and we're going to talk about subduction. Subduction is when dense, heavy land, okay, right here, starts to crash into the continental crust, which is South America in this instance, and it causes the heavy land to go underneath and push up on the less dense land and make mountains. So in a convergent boundary situation, just like this is where we have mountains and volcanoes and major earthquakes. Okay? You want to show them now your transform boundaries when they slip and they get stuck. Of course, you get broken landscape. Yep. There you go.
And it's
it buckles,
breaking apart.
And it just, ooh.
So what does that make y'all think of? I'm going to pause for a minute. Anything in the United States where an area where we have active
earthquakes?
Yes.
What? I know that there's somebody out there that knows which state that we always talk about maybe falling off of the United States. California, okay? They have the Juan de Fuca and the San Andreas Fault. Now, some of you might have seen that video or that movie with The Rock, San Andreas Fault, and it's because that's where some major earthquakes are. So transform boundaries cause major earthquakes and for the ground to break very often.
And there's a theory that one day part of California will just drop off because it will totally break apart where the San Andreas Fault is. So there you go.
Yeah.
So we have a dance.
I know you're going to laugh at us. You know, we're so corny, but it might help you to relate. And if you get brave enough, I challenge you to have your parents maybe make a video of you doing the same dance that we're going to do. Okay? Now, we use a song called Sandstorm. It's by Darude, D-A-R-U-D-E. So if you want to look that up on YouTube, it's not actually a video. It's just the music. There are no words. And so we're going to play it for you, and we're going to do some dance moves to help you remember convergent, come together, divergent, divide up, and transform are always touching but moving. So our motions are convergent. We're going to clap. Divergent, divide up. Transform, rubbing, always touching. Convection currents, that's what gets everything started. And we're going to do subduction. One going sinking under the other, and then we're going to make some mountains and some volcanoes. So we're going to start here, and it's all this pressure is going to build and build and build, and eventually that volcano is going to go, and then it starts the process all over again.
And you have to bear with us because we haven't done this song in a year.
All right, here we go.
Hold on, let me.
You might want to go a couple of seconds, huh?
Yeah. Are we going to stand up?
Sure. Oh yeah, you might want to turn that thing up behind you. All right, so convection current. Rising and falling. Convergent. Coming together, convergent. Divergent.
Transform boundary.
We can also
we can do this.
Woo! Bam! Bam! Large earthquake. Conversion. Conversion causes subduction.
You know what I hear, Miss Hopson? Yeah, it's
Okay,
starting
so
to
when it
turn.
starts to turn, there.
Ooh, what about building up?
Build, pressure, build.
And then the whole process starts again.
All right. Y'all got that? Pretty easy.
See, and you can do it over and over and over again. And if we were with you, we wouldn't dance. We would just holler out moves and watch you move
So
to make sure you know the word. So that's what your parents
we're
can
going to
do.
look for a video coming from you through Remind to show us that you understand plate tectonics. The last thing that we want to discuss with you is the map. If you picked up a packet, then you got something that would be in black and white. But for those that did online, it showed up in color. You're going to need to know your plate boundaries, okay? And if you know your continents and oceans,
Easy peasy.
yes. The only two that you'll really need to know are the Philippine plate and the Nazca plate, okay? Now, we colored the Pacific plate red because it's known as the Ring of Fire. And the Pacific plate is really kind of turning in a circle as it crashes in to the South American plate. It's building mountains, right? But then it's rubbing against California, transform, causing all of those earthquakes.
And Miss Hopson, what ocean does the Pacific plate sit on top of?
Pacific Ocean.
Oh, they've
Easy
got this.
peasy, right? Eurasian, because it's on top of Europe and Asia. Oops, sorry, right here. I was doing it backwards. North American plate, North
It's on top of
America.
North America. And if you don't know that, shame on you.
Yes.
Parents, if they don't know that, they need to study their
We
continents
do
and oceans.
not live in South America just because you live in Southeast Texas.
Nope, we don't.
You live in North America because you are north of the equator.
That's right.
South America, South
of the-
American plate, right? The African plate is on top of Africa. But look, our world is not flat, even though a lot of you try to tell us all the time that we live on a flat earth.
But we know better.
Yes. Okay. So if this map were to be round,
Like our
like
globe.
like our globe, then we would know that it touches on both sides, okay? And then you have the Indo-Australian plate. Indo-Australian, why does it have those two names?
Indonesia, Australia. Are they right
And
underneath there?
India.
And India.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and that was where we last studied before you left school. We learned about, let me see if I can see it here. Okay, India and the Indian Ocean. Okay.
Hey, and it looks like a duck. Quack, quack.
Yeah, well, it could be like this is the duck bill and his head and his booty, or it could be a big mouth bass. This is his mouth, and there's his fin, and there's his tail.
Oh, I see that. I've never seen that before.
So it can be either way, however you remember it. But you have Australia, you have Indonesia, and you have India and the Indian Ocean. So that's how you can remember that one. And of course, Antarctica has the Antarctic plate.
And the Nazca plate is easy because it's in between the Pacific and the South American. Just
And remember, we learned about the Nazca people when we studied South America
we
and the
did.
Nazca lines. You could probably go back and look at your title page because you drew some Nazca lines. And
you know how I remember the Filipino plate?
it's on top of the Philippines, isn't it?
Yes, but if you said this looks like a bass flips and flops in the water in Philippines. It's right by the bass. I have to remember silly things.
Well, it kind of looks with my line going up that it might be a lure.
It looks like it's
And this is
catching
his
the
fishing
fish.
line.
Oh my gosh, that's so good, Miss Hopson.
Anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
I think that's enough.
All right. For if you have any questions, shoot us a message on Remind or write in your stream on Google Classroom. We'll be seeing you soon. Hope you have a marvelous Monday
And we'll see you next Marvelous Monday.
to talk about cells.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.